Bears banner. Hey, what's up, guy? How you doing?
I'm good. Considering.
Yeah. Hey, man. Last night was just a all right bad game, but you know what? It wasn't as bad as the game against the 49ers. I would say the Bears defense looked like they had some life and energy in the first half. The offense is just off tilt. Now they did come out yesterday. The offense, they kind of committed to the run a little bit, but they seem like they don't really know what they want to do. I mean, what's your observing of what happened yesterday?
It's just like guys. It seemed like guys are playing hard, but it's just it's got to be a team effort, man. It just seemed to me like some guys are just making vacation plans. They figured, well, we're gonna be 4-10. We ain't going nowhere, so let me get this trip. I'm not saying everybody. It's a lot of guys. And then another thing too, man. Keenan Allen made some great catches, man, but he made some straight up, just like straight through the hands.
Yeah.
Everything was funky. Guys pulling, offensive line, acting kind of crazy, guys missing assignments. And then you turn into like what you were saying, you turn your boy DJ Moore into a gadget player. And he weigh about the same weight that I do, man. He gonna get that boy killed.
I've been what, this season, I guess let's talk about the season. I know the Bears fall 30-12 to the Vikings last night on Monday Night Football.
Mhm.
And you mentioned Kenan Allen. I'm gonna start. I guess I could start right there with Kenan Allen. Kenan Allen's a great player. He's had a good career, and I'm not saying that like it's over or anything like that, but I would say based off what the Bears needed to fix, I was puzzled on the Kenan Allen signing, and so I assume they were going to either not re-sign DJ for whatever reason that was going to be,
Right.
or they were not going to get Rome Odunze or Malik Neighbors.
Right.
This is why I assume they got Kenan Allen. At least have, because if you thought you was going to lose DJ, because he's about to become a free agent next year, but he ended up signing to something. So I was confused by the move because you gave up a fourth round pick.
Yeah.
And you didn't really get anything to fix some of the issues you had. But I don't know. It looked like at times watching Kenan Allen play, I know he had what's that, plantar fasciitis injury?
Yeah, plantar fasciitis.
That's fasciitis, right. I'm sure he's probably still having some pain from that. So sometimes it looks like he just haven't repped some of the plays. And maybe this is why he's having more drops or something, because sometimes it looked like he's maybe on the wrong route. Sometimes it's not good concentration. And he looks extremely slow, I tell you that. He's able to get something real short and quick. But I don't want to excuse, like, there was one play where Caleb, he was running like a quick slant, and it was based off the way speed that he was running. It was more of a timing route more than anything, where he's not running full speed and he wants you to hit him right there, because if he runs too fast, it looked like he would be in the next zone too fast and he would get creamed. And I think Caleb kind of misjudged that. I know sometimes people are like, man, he missed throw him a lot. Sometimes it's just a matter of what is the scheme of a play and being able to get their timing right with players.
Yeah. A lot of times too, man, when you got a rush, sometimes the guys can't fully go back and extend, and they try to short arm it, and they put a little too much zip on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at a couple of them. It was a couple passes that Caleb threw was just like way off. And I'm like, whoa. I don't know if it was jitters. I don't know if he blinked. I mean, and that is what it is. But with Keenan, I was kind of puzzled with the signing as well, too. But I guess it was kind of an insurance policy. But then once you figured out you were going to sign DJ to this money, you could take that money and done something else. And like I said, it's no disrespect to Keenan. But then when you talk about the plantar fasciitis set of circumstances, I had it before. And the athletes and the game that you could play that you're able to, I would say, be better and consistently deal with is like soccer, because you're constantly moving. Because the way plantar fasciitis is, imagine if somebody took a nail and just stuck it in your heel, and it's that constant pain. But the more you move, it goes away. But when you stop, and start again, it comes back. And it's one of them things, man, that all these doctors try to give you the surgery for when it's just like I had it for about 6 months, man, and then just one away. But neither here nor there. Guy, it just looked like guys. It's almost as if somebody just gave Brown a new playbook and gave plays to guys because they just looked like they didn't even know what they were doing out there, and that concerns me.
Yeah, that it does. I want to go through little things we saw last night, and I know we were discussing this one play,
Mm-hmm.
and we sent it around. I was hoping Jason Williams could get on. He's
Mm-hmm.
an NFL player, so from what the play looked like, Jason did say the play looks like Swift ran to the right hole. It was one of the play. It was a 4th and 1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what I had to go to next was it looks like Jenkins didn't know what the play was then, because on this particular play, 4th and 1, Jenkins actually pulls and he runs to the right. But
Mm-hmm.
actually, the run play, and if you saw the game last night, for those who have to watch it, you probably remember this play. I don't know if you noticed this in the details of the play.
Mm-hmm.
Gerald Everett is actually bagging up in this play, and he looks like he's about to have Karan. And
Mm-hmm.
Karan is getting pushed back into the play, but the odd part is Jenkins he pulls over to the right. And it
Yeah.
feels like he's blocking somebody off the edge, but that's actually the hole that Swift runs into and get banged. And I'm thinking, like, why would he pull and go to the right if it's a power play trying to get 1 yard forward? So I'm assuming if I could get that play and pull it up, I will. It's like he got confused about what the play is. So I do notice this with this team this year. It's a lot of plays that you see on offense that it seems like players are either not sure what the play is or they're not concentrating. And let's just give an example of not concentrating. You get on the goal line, 1st and goal on a 1. Kramer comes in. The Kramer, you ain't got but 2 assignments: the check in and the block. That's it.
That's it.
Hey, how do you not check in? I'm sure you repping this play. This ain't they haven't brought you in since the fumble, but you come in and you don't check in, so the touchdown get brought off the board. To me, that's lack of concentration. People could blame whoever they want. Some stuff is the player's responsibility after a while. I mean, look, you're a bench warmer, man. You can't mess up the one time you get a chance to get in. I mean, if you don't get in but that one play every game, you got to be good at that one play.
Yeah, and you would swear that everybody on that offensive line were rookies, and even certain plays. It's like you're not supposed to have them type of brain farts, man. At this particular point of season, you're 14 games in the season and you're still having miscommunications. I mean, it's a twofold thing, but by the same token, as much as we like to look at the coaches, I always had this saying, I can give you food and give you some money, but you cooking. I'm not gonna cook for you. So it does go hand in hand. And I know one of our particular friends was talking about, yeah, every one of y'all was talking about they set him up, they set Caleb up. But that's the same thing though, man. You could give the right pieces, get guys, but they still gotta run the plays. They still gotta execute, man. And unfortunately, this year that everything just kind of is for me, it just started gradually going downhill on that 1 yard line. Because it was like next play, did they get a flag or something like that? It was back, and you kick a field goal. And it's gotta be demoralizing when you've gone, you in the end zone, you happy, now you get a flag, and then you get stopped, and then you go through this, and you kick a field goal, and you didn't put all this work in to do this, and this is all you got,
Yeah. It's like this team. Once they get one bad thing happen, especially offensively, they seem to fall apart. So just like on that play, what we referring to, you get the not checking in, then you get the yards back and get back to maybe the 1 or 2. Then you get a holding call, like you just said. So you've been having this going on, and just like anyway, the other point you made about hey, they said y'all said, hey, most people did think hey he best situation, but you know what? A lot of that is media driven conversation, and even if we repeat it, right, that's just our hopes as a fan. As fans, man, we've been watching this team for whatever, well over 45 years or more. And at the most part, I could say I have not seen good quarterback play consistently. I saw a little spark of it during Jim McMahon time. There was a maybe a year or two with Eric Kramer. Jim Miller played like pretty decent one year. Kyle Orton managed the ball decent for a year. Rex was okay that Super Bowl run year. Then he started making mistakes. Color probably was the closest we had to consistency. Anybody else after that? I mean, the real reality of it, you know, I saw some flashes from Justin Fields. I didn't really after the first year, man. Guy, this is what's the funny thing about people having short memories. After his first game, you said on this show, it looks like they're setting him up for failure. You said that right out of the jump. 2 games later, I said, "Guy, I agree with you. It looks like that." At that point forward, I really didn't say anything negative about him until year 3 because I try not to be like too emotional about quarterbacks because it takes time. But as the time went on, I understand the move to go on. But I think people are being premature that if they, hey, last night was a bad game. If you're talking about he a bust, come on. That actually don't make any sense because bust in their rookie year, if you go look at every stat just about, Caleb is probably between 14 and 18 in the entire NFL. Busts don't be in the middle. They'd be more closer to 28, 29, and 30. That's the truth of it.
Even more so, too. Look at it. He's got the rookie Bears records.
Yeah.
And he's got 5 picks for the year.
Yeah.
As a rookie. You know what? It's like people, they always nitpick when stuff go wrong. They don't care to look at like the different intangibles. You know, why is this going wrong? Are guys mentally checking out? Are they hitting wrong schemes? Are they just not paying attention? Are guys' hearts not in it? They just look at stuff and they just go opine. Because if you did that, and we old enough to remember when Troy Aikman was getting clobbered in his first year. I mean, he was bad, not bad. He was terrible. Then all of a sudden you get Michael Irvin. Then you get Emmitt Smith. Then you get Nate Newton. You get Ken Norton. Now all of a sudden, 3 years later, they're in the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? So what happened is Dallas had the presence of mind to start adding those pieces that they needed. And I will say it, it's just like any sport. They were lucky enough that everything worked out. You know, you figure if and people can say what they want, but let's just keep this a buck. Ask anybody that watches football. If you looked up at the Bears roster and found out they 1, 2, 3 receivers were DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze without taking a snap, the first thing you thinking, man, we could get some yards. We could just blow up. But you got to play the game. It's so many different things like penalties, you know, which is the one thing that's been killing us all year. Number 2, sometimes guys drop balls. Number 3, sometimes the refs are blind. Number 4, sometimes the players just goof up, you know. So we can't always just look on paper and see things. You know, a lot of times you have to play it out. Now, if I was to look at it from my perspective of what the Bears have, yeah, they got to shore up the offensive line. They got the players. My only thing is, it seems like they were all invested in the first 6 games. This reminds me of what happened with Trestman when he started out like that. It was the exact same thing. It's like, man, the offense is going, the defense is popping. Then all of a sudden it went downhill. And it wasn't that they were running different plays. It wasn't that it was different players. It's just they got a brain fart instead of resetting. They kept forcing it, and it went from bad to worse, you know?
Yeah, guy. I remember when that was happening. I'm talking about going back to the Bears having the receiver core they have. I would every once in a while would say this on Facebook: you can't win on paper. I would say that. I that's how I would make the statement. I would say the Bears look like they're gonna be, best situation for a rookie quarterback. But I kept saying you can't win games on paper though,
That's
because
so.
and I think at one point I said, yeah, they paper champs, and this is before they played the game, not because I was doubting the Bears, but when I look at the reality of it, what they did not fix was the line to me. So that's why I did not have them as a playoff team. But I would say this, when I go back and rethink this, more so after you see it happen, the problem you have with that is this is some of this is falling on poles, because what you actually have done was you actually put a rookie in a bad spot when you really think about it. You actually, I think I said this a couple of games in, he actually had too many people to throw to. I think this has been more of a problem than an asset. And you say, hey, how is that? Because you know what? As a rookie, you want to run the ball and play good defense and develop. When you put that many people out there, there's no way all those guys are going to be happy with just running the ball. Because what you now telling those receivers to do is block. So what we actually seen this year, as even early on, good games or bad games, as offense improved, you see receivers seem to be upset.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not getting as many targets. Right? This different for him because why? He played on the team last year that nobody really was catching the ball other than him and Komet here and there. Mooney caught 30 balls, dropped a lot of balls. I don't remember anybody really catching balls in Carolina. So now he's playing on side of a Hall of Famer who's actually a short yardage guy. You got a rookie you're trying to develop. So I think this is added to the problem, because this is what you're now telling your quarterback to do. You're telling him to read the field, which is too much. He should read 1, 2, be done with it. You're either going to throw it away, run it, versus trying to 1, 2, 3. Then now this is what you added. I'm reading 1, 2. Damn, DJ ain't got the ball in a while. He over there pouting. I'm being honest. It's breaking his probably read cycle. Damn, Kennan ain't had the ball. So even though I know this player is the first one on the read, let me just get the ball to Kennan. And so now you're staring down Kennan Allen. Now somebody saying Cole Kmet ain't getting the ball. Man, let me just get one to Cole real quick, right? So now you're telling the quarterback is probably thinking, well, let me just get this guy the ball to keep him involved, and he's not following the read, so he's hanging on, trying to look at a guy to get him some plays. Guess what veteran quarterbacks do after they go through this cycle? You get the ball when you open.
Or just look at him and tell him shut up. Because you know what? See, here's the deal. It's three dog receivers or plus can be an asset or it can be a detriment. If you got a veteran quarterback like an Aaron Rodgers or somebody, you give him 3 receivers, he gonna Ginsu dudes, because there's no way that you can defend Aaron Rodgers with 3 great receivers. I'll give you a perfect case in point. Remember our boy Kurt Warner, the greatest show on turf? He had Isaac Bruce, he had Torrey Holt, he had Azahir Hakeem, he had Ricky Prohl. So he had 4 guys.
Yeah.
And they were just running up points. But then you had a veteran quarterback. You got a rookie. And the thing that you said is very important is they got him thinking too much. You got receivers, oh man, I'm open. Whereas a vet was like, you'll be open when I throw it to you. And it's like a whole thing where guys on contract years and they want to do great. And if I'm a receiver, I'm just gonna shut up and get open, because guess what? Week 2, I might start crying and complaining. By week 6, I may have 1 catch after that, and that's how you keep guys. But then with Poles too, I get what he tried to do, because a lot of times what people figure, if I stack up or something like that, we're gonna get somebody open. But just like you say, on paper. But when you were saying something about paper, man, I'm gonna give you something. I was just looking at something which is interesting. I was looking at some stats. Take your average person that really just doesn't know football that well, but they always look at numbers. If I told you that Justin Jefferson has 7 receptions and 73 yards with a touchdown, the first thing people would say, oh, they shut him down. But when you watch the game, How many times did we look up and he was open? And matter of fact, he dropped one ball that was a touchdown.
Yeah.
So I understand there's certain times when you could look at paper and kind of get a gist of what happens. But if you look at the box score of the Bears, it's like you would look at the box score and the question you ask, I can see all this, but how did they score 30 points? You'd have to see it. Here's another thing that I had. I was just looking at a rest of it. What's his name? Aaron Jones, 18 carries, 86 yards. He averaged 4.88 yards a carry. Sam Darnold was 24-40. He had 2 sacks. But then you look at Caleb, he's 18-31, 191 yards. He averaged more yards per throw than Sam Darnold with a TD and no interception. And it's like you look at stuff, DeAndre Swift's 19 carries for 79 yards. He had 7 less yards with 1 more carry, but then we look at the DJ Moore gimmick thing. Caleb had four rushes for 3 yards. Travis Homer had 3 for 7. But I think what happens is this, man. When it's bad, it's going to get bad. We 4-10 right now. If we're going to play for this draft pick, this high draft pick, why don't y'all just go out there and get the games and start running some plays and get great at it? Why don't you get a guy coming up the gap? Now, one thing I can say I was encouraged about it one time was I saw Swift run a ball, he hit that gap and took off. I'm like, if you going to go in the middle, that's what you do. But then again, it was this. Everybody's got to do what they're supposed to do. It's too many guys crying about what's going wrong. You got guys out here not paying attention to the snap count. You got guys, when they run the plays, it's like the defense.
Swift.
Okay, there we go. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, guy. Go
ahead. Go ahead with that though, man, because that's the play. Oh yeah, that's the play. I know you're talking.
You want to finish your point? I'm sorry.
No, that was it. That was all I had though.
Okay. Yeah, earlier we had mentioned this play, and I wanted to run this play on the screen, and this was the 4th down play where I don't know if you can see my arrow. So right here, this is what that.
No, I can't see the arrow.
You can't see the arrow. Okay. So number 14, Gerald Everett doesn't really fire off on the ball. He kind of backpedaled. Then Coran, number 72, is pushed back into this play. But if you look at Jenkins right where it's at, you can see he's raising up. He actually pulls and runs to the right side. So right in that gap is where they're trying to run the ball. So it actually ended up being a failed play. So I was confused by this play because I was trying to figure out why did Jenkins pull on this play? Like, was this play supposed to go outside? But after I ran it by some people, they said that this play was designed to go inside. So this is what's confused. Let me run it.
Swift gets hit in the backfield and then fights.
Let me run it one more time, and I'm going to pause it. So right there, why is Jenkins pulling on this play?
Right. You would think that they running it right.
Correct, because they're running the ball right to the hole that he vacated. So I didn't understand that. Now, if he had whammed down on somebody, interior or something, that would make sense. But he actually runs all the way to the end.
Yeah.
Swift gets hit in the backfield and then fight. Gets hit in the backfield and then fight.
If Jenkins was an offensive player, you swear he was running.
You say Sway's what?
He looked like Jenkins was going in motion, like he was an eligible receiver, or something like that.
Right.
Gets hit in the backfield and then fight.
It looked like whatever he did, it didn't even fit the play. And then we had another play where they both went back. Who's our guy? 65. What's his name? It came in, was eligible, supposed to be the eligible guy.
Oh, Doug Kramer.
He got beat, and he ended up tripping Tevin Jenkins, and both of them fell, and Caleb got sacked. It's like when it gets bad, it gets worse. You could deal with a mistake here, but it was just like a litany of mistakes that you look up. It was like you would swear that if you didn't know who was playing and what type of stats, you swear Minnesota had the best defense in the league.
Yeah. Hey, so let me mention Caleb while we kind of came on. Like I said, we kind of be a little bit all over the place tonight, but we're going to primarily just probably talk a lot about what the Bears what we see going on, our opinions of what we see going on. So I would say, as far as Caleb at this point, when TB got moved to interim head coach, they have regressed. The offense, I've seen a lot of good. I think it was 2 games that he called as the offensive coordinator, where the offense looked like it was going in the right direction. So some of our fears was once they moved that it would regress. Even point wise, they regressed. They went from 13 points to now 12 points. That's not enough to win a game in NFL unless you're playing lights out defense. And I would say, as of last night, and I could be wrong. I would say Caleb was seeing ghosts last night. Now the interesting thing is the guy that's on the other side of the field. No, it wasn't him. It was the other guy who was in New York after him. I can't think of his name. They just let him go last season. But anyway, he was seeing ghosts. Jazz quarterback. And for those who are not familiar with that term in football, is really kind of when a quarterback starts seeing pressure that's not really there. They're under pressure so much, they start rushing throws because they feel like they're actually under pressure. So that is a thing that the Bears got to address and help Caleb through, because it becomes natural. And then you start saying he's holding the ball too long. And, anybody who thinks Caleb is not a tough guy, you just dislike him. Just be honest. I mean, some of them last hits last night was brutal, and you don't get sacked that many times. I know I've seen some people, he was laying on the bench. Man, that was a brutal hit. And guess what? He went back in the game. You didn't see him over there.
Thompson came up afterwards. I got to see his TikTok video where he walked up to Caleb and was telling him, yeah, you that dude, giving him his props. Because see, the thing is, players know players, man. And Justin gonna be jobbing and talking trash to guys because that's what we do as football players. But at the end, they're very close-knit fraternity, man. They understand more than we do because they out there playing that game and they understand what they go through during the course of the week to prepare. They understand the jitters and all the stress and the pressure of playing ball. And I'm gonna tell you right now, man, this is gonna make him better. It's gonna make Caleb much better. So many people sit up here, get rid of Caleb. He's doing this. If you really look at him, what he's doing, yeah, he's overthrown some balls. He's holding on to balls. But then you got to look at some other things. What is it? Is he trying too hard to make a good play without throwing it away? Are the people in headsets telling him, just trust the line? Because I saw a few, like most of them, he'll step back and pressure comes. He steps right up, lets the guy pass. And he did it like 2 or 3 times. And then one time he did it, he got popped. It's like, okay, are we telling this kid just trust what you see and stick, just stay in the pocket? Me personally, I would tell Caleb to turn to Jay Cutler. Jump back, 1, 2, 3. I don't see nothing. If I can't run, I'm throwing it away.
Yeah. He needs to be humble. He needs to be humble. He'll be all right, though. You know what? I think getting in the NFL at this point, I agree. I think he has been humble, right? Whatever that means. Just, I know he probably, just like most quarterbacks, I would say most quarterbacks thought they come in the league and it'll be easy. We just seen quarterbacks, even in Chicago, said the preseason didn't look fast to them. We seen, for example, we saw Caleb say, I don't get nervous. Guess what? You do get nervous, right? So, I think he will be all right, but you can't listen to the fans. Organizations can't listen to the fans because we fickle. To be honest, we fickle. We listen to us, and that's to me that's always been the problem too with the Bears ownership. The Bears ownership runs this team like they're fans versus a business, right? They make the money, but and I would say more so George McCaskey. That's who's running now. Yeah, George McCaskey's running right now. One, he needs to make better decisions as a chairman. He needs to be removed as a chairman. He got installed in, I think, 2012. So that's 12 years. From the 12 years he's been in, he's been through. They fired Lovey, I think his first year he took over. They had Trestman, they had Fox, they had Nagy, and now they got Flus. That means you didn't have 5 coaches in 12 years. That's an average of what? 2.5 years on the coach. You cannot have stability in any business if you have turnover. Think about any business. If you're having turnover in your workplace employment, you're probably having gap in learning and productivity, so it declines. You done had about 3 managers during that time. That's too many. They have to be able to get this decision right. You got to line it up right. You can't have a GM on one schedule, coach on another schedule, then you fire the coach, then he hires a GM, then you fire the coach the next year,
right?
The GM, and then now you kind of go in this circle.
You know what? And that brother Notorious B.I.G., thanks for coming on to listen to us, man. We appreciate you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll answer that question by asking you a question. If you remember when Jay Cutler was here, he got sacked 60 times. And the first thing we were talking about, dude, I don't care how great he is, he's shell-shocked. And he at the place now, I'm starting to play for myself. We 14 games a season. Caleb Williams has been sacked 58 times. If that don't humble you, nothing will. Mm-hmm. I think he's humble. First of all, I don't even think that's what humbled him. Humbling is you go from pee-wee ball to high school to college. You've been that guy. You've been great. Your teams have been great and all that stuff. Now you come to a league and you pretty much are doing the exact same things you did to win, and that ain't enough. That's humbling enough. And especially it take you a 250, 260-pound lineman to put you on your back a couple times. I think he's humble, but I also think he's frustrated too. You know, one, just the dysfunction that we've had with the team. You know, we're never okay with losing, but you can accept it. And it's not even saying the guys don't play hard, because I think the guys do play hard. It's just that whole organization has to be on the same page. The problem with the McCaskies is, one, that's their only income revenue, and that's football.
Right.
Number two, the Bears are one of the if you look at winning organizations have owners who have the front office people who are businessmen who are football guys, who are football guys that understand. Let's see, Brother Bolden, Brother Bernard, we get together. I'd love to tell you exactly what's wrong with our beloved team. Not bragging. I said 3 months before the preseason, they'd be 5-12. I remember what you said when I said that. I know the management does not all have the same goals and desires that the fans do. For us, this is about sports entertainment. For them, this is about revenue only. Also, sorry to say, it's not going to improve for quite a long while. That's a grown man. That's a grown man response right there.
You know what? This is the thing with me and Wham. Wham thinks I disagree with him. That's the funny part about it. Yeah. Just because I said I think they may win 9, you think they may win 5. That's just a guess of watching sports, right? We all guessing, right? Some years we right, some years we wrong. But I have consistently said, and Guy, you can bear witness, I've said that the Bears organization is incompetent. I've been saying that for the last 5 years at this show on. So it's not like I'm delusional or thinking all of a sudden. That's just a hope in me as a fan. Because if I didn't believe they would turn it around somehow, I would just stop watching them. Why would I even waste my time, keep watching the team if I don't desire or believe they're going to do it? It's just part of being just watching. It's entertainment for me. That's the bottom line. It's entertainment for me. You know what? The Bears, until they probably sell, that's the reality. They're not going to fix this team. But are they going to sell? Probably not. But it's possible that there are teams right now that are starting to look into that the league is going to allow them to sell some shares to get extra revenue to, for example, get a stadium. So the Bears actually have put out feelers to ask the league about that, which is maybe an indication that if they proceed with the stadium, that they don't have enough revenue, if they don't get enough from the government, that they may be considering selling some of their shares to get the stadium. But that doesn't mean they're going to give up a majority share. So it would still be the same thing. But you know what? It is what it is. It ain't nothing you could do about it. That's why a lot of times I don't spend a lot of time talking about the owners, because it's a waste of time. I talk about what I see in the game. I mean, that's all you could. That's all you could do.
You got to ask yourself a question, though, Bernard, too. The difference between a team, let's see, Caleb publicly told Tory Taylor he wasn't going to be punting much. Tory Taylor, the most active punter in the league. Oh, absolutely true. But then again, my man, as I said before, everybody comes into a situation because, first of all, you excited, you come from college, you that guy, you thinking because you've never been there. It's almost like being the president of the United States. Everybody talking about what they're going to do until they get on the hot seat and they realize it ain't what you thought it was. So, of course, every player that's that top, I'm going to come in here and we going to do this and do that by game 3, unless you were like Pat Mahomes and you went to a great situation where you kind of sat for a minute or two, but you still had a playoff team. When you're a great player and you come to a bad team, you come from college from a great team to a bad team, yeah, you go have all the bells and whistles. Oh, I'm going to have 4,000 yards. I'm only going to have like 2 picks. I might even throw one to the cheerleaders. After the 3rd game, they'd be calling their mama like, Mom, I want to come home. You know, but what I was going to say about the owners is this. The difference between teams that have other vested interests besides football and the Bears is this. You ever notice a lot of times when you have a decision, you find that when you think about the decision that you make, when you decide to say, okay, I'm going to stay steadfast and I'm going to do this, as opposed to thinking too long, when you only got one revenue stream, you're doing too much thinking about stuff. You second, third guessing yourself. I'll use Jerry Jones as an example. Yeah, Cowboys ain't doing all that great, but look, they got $1 billion stadium. He's willing to put money out. Yeah, they haven't won a Super Bowl, and God knows. But look, he's more of a narcissist, so to speak. But when you have other generate other income resources, now you have to spread yourself evenly. So maybe that thing you was thinking about, like ad nauseum, you might not have time to think about. You might make a decision. If until the Bears are sold, we're going to keep having these little gimmick things come in and out, and we're going to have the same thing. And we're going to probably get 1 year where we're lucky and have a great season, get knocked out the first round, and then the next year out the playoffs. You know, we got something consistent, man.
It's something in the organization, right, and the structure, because if you put it only to money, then it's more than that, because you know what? You could accidentally get it right being cheap. You accidentally get it right every few years. I mean, you could catch lightning in a bottle sometimes by accident. So how do they not end up catching lightning in the bottle, even with what you call it? Because it's something that they do. For example, you could go look at Hard Knocks. Oh, they made sure the NFL cut out all the cursing and all that. Because why? They got this image. They don't want coaches who curse. So now when you start adding all this type of, this is the kind of guy we want, this and that, you start eliminating the possibility of accidentally getting it right, right? Okay, I'm just going to use, like we mentioned, Bruce Aaron. Okay, if you really look at it, the time that the Bears had interviewed Bruce Aaron, if I remember correctly, Bruce Aaron was hired by the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah. Ooh.
He failed them. He got rehired. Looked like we lost for a minute. He got hired again with Tampa. And he won it at Tampa, but he did not win it. He did not win it at Arizona. But when most people talk about it, they talk about it like the Bears passed on him and he went to a Super Bowl. No, he actually went 4 years in Arizona and did not win. And you could primarily say, why did he win in Tampa? Because he got Tom Brady. If they had kept, Tom Brady selected them. They didn't select Tom Brady. If they had kept the quarterback that they had, what's the guy's name? They wouldn't have won anything.
Yeah, they wouldn't have. You know what? Here's another thing too. I saw something the other day where they were talking about this new thing where they started doing a league now where they're hiring these coaches and the coaches picking their own GMs. And Buffalo did that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, my thing is, people say, oh, this is stupid, this is dumb. There's no such thing as a dumb idea when you're losing. Because, like, I'll give you a perfect case in point. I call it Kansas City Chiefs the Mr. Magoo's. If you look at this year, how many games that they were supposed to lose and they just happened to win by some lucky stuff? Look at them. Look at them now. But look on the other end of it. When you're a good team, when you're a great team, it's just you get stuff that happens good, but you want to know why? It's because I mentioned this whole thing about affirmations. There isn't a time, even when they're down, that a championship team per man does not get on that field and say, I wonder we gonna win. They're like, let's get this dub and go to the crib. And really think that when you get a team like the Bears, the reason why there's a difference, we had like maybe 4 games that we should have won this year that we didn't. Now, if you took the Bears and gave them the mentality of what Kansas City had, even with the talent and everything, they could have at least won 2 or maybe all those games. But all the great teams, we've seen this too many times, man. Look at Washington. Washington, they're getting to the place where guys are starting to believe, and when you start believing, good stuff start happening. When you don't, you get Tevin Jenkins going in motion thinking he gonna get hit out in the flat.
Yeah, this team is actually the new Detroit Lions, where Detroit for a while. Matter of fact, when they lost when they had the 0-16 seats twice, if you watch some of those games, there was quite a few games they actually could have won both those years. Somehow they found ways to still lose those games. So that's what happened when a team has that culture of losing. It becomes the predominant thought process. And then, I'm sorry, I wanted to say something about what Notorious TBG said about Tory Taylor. You know what? I will say this. I'm glad that Tory Taylor actually pointed that out to Caleb. He said it in preseason. So I know a lot of times people kind of ignore that it happened. I give Caleb credit because Tory told him, and it was on the sideline. He said, I thought you said we wasn't going to need me this season. And Caleb did not run from the comment. He just said, he laughed and said, hey, man, who would have thought that? Right? To me, he said, hey, man, I was wrong. He basically told the guy I was wrong. But let's go to that point with Tory Taylor, and then we break down a little bit of stuff in the game we see. Okay, this is one of the problems that I'm seeing with the Bears and Poles this year. I've been riding with Poles the whole time. When you rebuild, I'm going to give you some time, and your brother, I'm going to try to, give you more time. He approached this wrong. Approached this wrong. Man, Tory Taylor is punting his butt off. The problem is, what was it, 4th round pick?
Yeah.
Okay. You could have used that. He probably would have been there for the 5th or the 6th round.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Okay.
Now, here's the problem too with some of Poles' lot of picks. His first year here, he picked a punter. He got a punter. He kind of traded down and ended up having about 10, 11 picks that year. He got a punter. He got Doug Kramer, I believe, in that draft. Okay. So there was a couple of players that they not really getting used, or they let go, cut some players. Then he got Velus Jones, waste a pick.
Kroger's.
Correct. Then you had a couple of picks in the 2023, same scenario. When you came into 2024, what you could not afford to do is reach for a Koran, a guy who had not had much college time at all, and he'd been hurt most of the time, and he's playing for Yale. Man, that's a guy you could sign as a free agent. He's not going to get drafted.
Now you draft that guy into the front office. He's from Yale. That's where he better slip. And it's no disrespect to Yale football players, but when I started looking at college football, I don't sit up and say, man, Yale about to play. They about to play Princeton. I'm watching that.
And so there was some questionable picks and signings that I would say. If you look at, he's drafted and traded for hurt linemen. When you look at it, Wright has worked out to me well, but he was injured early on when the Bears got him. I know he didn't draft Jenkins, but Jenkins has been notoriously injured every year. You get Nate Davis, who's been a waste of time. You got, what was the guy they just brought in this year? He's been hurt the whole time. I don't know. I can't think his name, but he's the center. He's supposed to have been the center. He's been.
Patrick, Lucas Patrick.
Oh no, this year. But you think about
this year, Lucas
Lucas Patrick. like that. So those have been like bad signings of linemen. And he tried to go on, I'm outsmarting everybody or going on the cheap. You have to protect your quarterback in the NFL. You know, right now, who did that same thing and it worked for 1 year was the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals have so much invested in their receiving core and quarterback. If you look at it, Joe Burrow leads the NFL almost in every stat possible for a quarterback. He probably got about 35 touchdowns. Guess what? They haven't won but what, 4 games?
Right.
Same amount of games the Bears won. And he won't be in the MVP conversation. Why? Because MVP goes to teams that win it.
Pretty much, unless you just so great. You talk about Ryan Bates?
Ryan Bates. Yep, thank you.
Yeah, Penn State guy. But see, and you know what? But it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Some teams do you can take another team that did the exact same draft, and all the players end up being great. You know, It's just sometimes just how it goes. But with polls, my thing is you almost have to, you can't go in to a draft worried about somebody taking that person that you want in that respect. What you have to do is look on your board and see what you mean. I mean, common sense will tell you now it don't matter. I mean, Torrey Taylor, don't get me wrong. That dude's a stud, man. Yep. That dude's a stud. But with that being said, with the rule change, you could have waited even if you missed him, because now when you kick the ball off, you can't do nothing until the guy catches the ball anyway. So that kind of negates all that in that respect. You know what I'm saying? What about going and get an offensive lineman in the draft, a young stud offensive lineman? Or what about trading off to get like a vet guy who could basically be serviceable? Because the thing is, at this particular point, I think a lot of times they keep thinking about home runs and not thinking about consistently hitting singles and doubles. You know what I'm saying? You get this one stud guy, you done gave him a boatload of money. If he gets injured, now your backup guy is a difference between here and down here. Whereas if you kind of like, and not even saying nickel and diamond, but somebody within reason, now you get a guy that's serviceable, that whatever he does, he may not be great doing this and that, but him being in that spot right there fixes their situation. And you get to take that other pick that you got and get something else that you need that's not a wide receiver. You know, but it's like, man, when it gets bad, it gets worse. It's like we could go point to a million things. We could look at polls making mistakes. We could look at players not executing. We could look at coaches. We can look at TB right now being pretty good as an offensive coordinator, but I think that which is why it's so hard to be an NFL coach, that people automatically assume because you're doing pretty good on the offensive coordinator side, you could step right in. He's starting to really find out right now. And I do believe, I just, from what I've seen, he just seems like he's it's this much too overwhelming for him.
Yeah. And then you got to think about as well that they're short staff, right? Because he moved from wide receiver coach to OC. So when you fired the OC, right, you short one coach right there. Then you fired the head coach. So now you 2 coaches short. Mm-hmm. Right, because now he's calling plays, and even though he promoted somebody up to the OC, nobody replaced those other positions. So anyway, let's get to the game. It was a comment I wanted to make about something you had said and something I saw on the screen. Torrey Taylor and the other pick, Booker. I haven't seen a lot from Austin Booker. I don't know. He might develop into something. But anyway, last night game with TB, this is the problem I'm saying with the game like this. When you first watch that game and you're watching it pan out the first quarter, you first say, well, he going for it because he got nothing to lose. That is not true. The team does have something to lose. He should have punted that ball. Because what you are trying to do as a team is start establishing the team can get positive things and win a game. Now, I know fans, we may start saying we need to tank, blah, blah, blah. They already did the tank thing. So if you're trying to tank again, you just pretty much might as well start all over. But he should have punted that ball. You move the ball 9 yards, and you're going to go for the ball go for it on your side of the field. They basically needed 2 yards to kick a 50-yard field goal. No, you do not do that. You punt the ball and make that team. So you gave them 3. Then you get a fumble and you gave them 10 points. Only thing what worked in the Bears' advantage at that point was the Vikings really had 10 points, but they hadn't really got into a good offensive groove. Mm-hmm. So at this point, they felt that they had a cushion and they was kind of like running plays. And after a while, you could see the pressure that was starting to get on the quarterback, and he was starting to make mistakes, which eventually led to an interception. Now, the other thing that the Bears did in this game, I'm talking from TB managing this game, he gets on the other side of the field, and we just showed the play where you go for it on 4th and 1. He should have took the field goal. Take the field goal. Your team is not good on 4th down conversion. They're just not. Just like they're not good on 2-point conversion. Take the 3. Have your quarterback feel good. Have your team feel good. Nothing worse than the offense is to drive down the field and get nothing. Take that, take those points. So he to me, he made some tactical errors last night. Guess what? You got to let your quarterback throw the ball upfield. Stop all the safe stuff. He's going to throw some picks. And you know what? Here's the thing I wanted to say earlier that the Bears, to me, was messing up with Caleb. 2 things I want to point out. There's no reason. Y'all know I love Caleb. Caleb should not have been a captain this year. He has did nothing to actually earn the captain. I know it's just a ceremonial position. Make him earn being the captain. The second thing is I've heard Caleb say this, and I heard Flusnum say this when I was watching Hard Knock. You actually went into this season saying, whenever we get in a tough situation, we want you to become Superman. So you actually telling a rookie quarterback, if we get down in the game, now you could do all the stuff that made you be special. Actually, all the stuff that made him be special is the stuff you need to let him do the whole game. In reality, this is why Washington is having more success with Jaden Daniels, because they designed their offense based off what was his strong assets. Now, how long can he continue to playing like that, right? You eventually you'll work that down and get him into a traditional offense. They came in and have Kayla like, hey, man, just play this traditional offense, stand in the pocket, blah, blah, blah. When chips get down, man, we want you to run around, make these crazy throws, and get us back in. You're actually telling your rookie quarterback, y'all success is solely on his shoulders. That's dumb. That's dumb.
That's rude, though, man. You know what? And not only that, too, what happens is they got tennis mentality for a football game. Tennis players, you're playing singles tennis, you by yourself. So, of course, it's all about your ability and what you're able to do. But then you put this on this rookie. Now it's even more pressure because people say, oh, he can handle it. I'm sure he could handle it, but he probably can't handle the fact that no matter what he does, he can't will his team to win. Why? Because, 1, guys aren't doing what they're supposed to do. Number 2, he's not adept at it yet. He's a rookie. Also, I wouldn't have given him captain either. You got to earn that. You get that to either a veteran guy, you give your guys a leaders of offense and defense. You're sending a message now where you put all this pressure on this kid to come in, and it's great for him to be assertive. But if I'm an 8-9 year vet and I'd have been to playoffs, God knows how many times, and things go wrong, and I got him coming here buzzing my ear, telling me stuff, it's like, kid, you ain't never done this before. And it's not a knock against him. Somebody, if I'm there and they want to put a C on my chest and as a rookie, okay, fine. But the dysfunction of the Bears, going back to what you were saying about that, you want to go with the percentages. You got 9 yards, you on this side of the field. I'm quite sure your pride to tell you know what, we're going to do the college try and we're going to make it. Everybody didn't believe they was going to make it. They were going to try to make it. They should have kicked it off. You know what I'm saying? Because you kick it off, now you change the dynamics of the score. Maybe Minnesota doesn't score 30 points after that. And when we did the whole thing with Kramer, if you don't make the brain fart, you saying like right now we at 12 points, 7 is 19, plus the other 3, 22. They got 30. Who's to say they would have 30 points, or who's to say we'd only have 22 points? But when you start playing hero ball, and you ain't got no heroes on your squad, you gonna keep failing.
Right. That's a great point. You don't have any heroes on this team. You don't really right now. I'm just gonna say it the way I see it. The Bears don't really have anybody great right now, right? They have okay players. They this is the interesting thing when you go back to the beginning of the season, guy. And we've been through this. We was like, man, the Bears are right 4-2, and we was excited about it. And people started like, hey man, y'all cheering for them beating bad teams. Hey, if you watch the Bears as long as we've watched the Bears, you understand when those wins come, you better cheer for those wins because you don't know when it's going to go the other way.
So, or if.
Right. So for me, I know they was beating subpar teams, but guess what? If they didn't beat those teams, you know what we'd be talking about right now? We'd be talking about 14? That's what we would be talking about, or maybe 1-13. That's what we would be talking about. So beating up, and this is the other thing I said, and I keep saying it. When have the Bears been a good team? So you can't say a bad team, you're beating bad teams. The Bears have been a bad team. That's why I don't even understand the infatuations of previous years in the recent years. Look, we started this podcast, guy, in 2020. The Bears won 8 games. They went to the playoff. That's when they expanded the playoff. The next year, if I remember correctly, the Bears won 5 games. This is 2021, which is Justin Fields' rookie year. They won 5 games. I want to say of those 5 games, Justin probably won about 4 of those games. 2022, the Bears went 3-14. 3-14. Justin Fields starting as quarterback. It ain't his fault. That ain't what I'm saying. It's been bad teams. They won 3 games.
Yeah.
He started in all 3 of the games they won. They won 3 games. They won 5 the year before. I think he played in 4 of those 5. They won. Last year, the Bears won 7 games. Was it 7? Yeah. They won 7 games. 2 of those victories was with the backup quarterback. Mm-hmm. Justin Fields won 5 of the 2 games of the games he played. Mm-hmm. If you look at the last 3 years, the Bears have won basically about 11 games prior to the season. That's nothing for me to hang my hat on about not making changes. 11 games in 3 years is nothing to hang your hat on by saying let's not do nothing different or whatever. To me, at some point, you got to say, hey, the consistency is they're still losing. So to me, doing nothing did not guarantee or just add some more players to that same roster. That still didn't make me feel good about all of a sudden that they was going to be doing great this year. I think that the Bears culture, all we would have been done was we've just been mad because now we'd have been saying these same quarterbacks playing good somewhere else and the Bears still blah, blah, blah. That's all the conversation would have been because guess what? No matter who's playing quarterback, they still would have been getting sacked. Your quarterback would have probably been just the leading rusher on this team like it's been for the last 3 or 4 years. And if you think about it, if Caleb was not getting sacked as often as he is, he would actually be the leading rusher on this team because they subtract, if I remember correctly, they subtract sack yards against your rushing yards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if it's against your individual, and I think Caleb got about like 400 or 500 rushing yards. So, but I know sacks are using about 7 to 8 yards.
But you know what though, man? I've been thinking about this a lot of time. A lot of people, and the only reason why, because in my life I've tried this, and I find that it's very, very important. I really believe the biggest part of the Bears organization's problem is not that's just that. I think it's psychological. You ever notice how you go to different things? Look at Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell came to the Lions, and that whole, he put stuff out there, but his whole mindset, the way that he got these guys to believe in themselves and to believe in his vision, them dudes will run through a brick wall. Don't get it twisted. They lost, 45-42 or something like that to Buffalo?
Yes. Yeah.
And they lost Montgomery for the season. They lost another guy, but don't get it twisted. Them dudes willing to run through a brick wall. Do I believe that the Bears are willing to run through a brick wall for coach for TB? They say they are, but do they really want to do it? It's like, okay, you tell these Detroit guys, you say you run through a brick wall, have at it. Every last one of them will drop their stuff and run straight for that wall. With the Bears, they'd be like, well, I know you said it literally, but you really meant that. Me personally, I would have not just the team, I would have the whole organization see a sports psychiatrist or see a psychiatrist, because there's the atmosphere there. We're losing close games. Games we get blown out, it is what it is. Stupid mistakes, making scared that somebody's going to grab a player that you want and you draft this guy when you could have drafted him a round or two later. Firing a coach in the middle of the season for the first time in 106 years, and it goes real bad from that point. I just think that everybody's just got to kind of psychologically reset, and then everybody from the front, from the ownership all the way down to the ball boy, everybody has to have a mentality when they walk into that stadium, they expect to win. We don't have that. We games.
We don't. We don't have any belief in ourselves. And Dan Campbell, I mean, I know we give him credit, but the general manager has did a good job as well.
Great job.
They got a good offensive line. They built a good defensive line. Then they started adding all the special players. And when you look at, for example, Dan Campbell's first year in Detroit, I think they might have won 5 games.
5 games, yeah.
And many of us was laughing when he was like, we're going to be breaking kneecaps or whatever. He was saying something like that. And we know a lot of us was laughing about him, right? Because it sounded like the little meathead stuff, right? So then his second year, they won 7 games. And I remember that last game they won and they were celebrating. And I ain't gonna lie. When they won that last game, I thought they had made the playoff the way they were celebrating that year. That was a 2022 season. And I was like, man, did they make the playoff? I had to go look because they were just so excited and messed the quarterback. What's his name? Going brain dead for a minute.
Goff.
Jared Goff was celebrating and they was pumping each other up. But guess what? That was a victory for Detroit, right? Because they had not won 7 games in a long time. Now, fast forward last year, they made it to the divisional championship, right? So they actually made progress. They really had only had 1 loss until this weekend. So it takes a while, and it takes people to actually believe and have a good plan. The Bears organization have not figured that out. And unfortunately, I think the Bears are in some kind of a dilemma at this point because they got to figure out what they're going to do next year. And I would say based off these last 2 games, TB is out of the conversation.
Yeah. But is he going to, but the question we want is he going to come back as be an offensive coordinator or something else, or they just going to completely let him go? That
it's hard to say, right?
Yeah, I'd like to see him come back. But, like I said, man, we looked at that Detroit situation. And it's like that whole thing when Kevin Garnett was a rookie talking trash about Michael Jordan, and J.R. Rodder said, be quiet, I got to stick him. And he said, then the 4th quarter, they couldn't get it. They said they would sit on the bench. This us right here looking at Detroit like, it ain't so funny no more. But that's you see how they was jumping up and down because nobody believed they could do it. And they believed in themselves. And people said, with their credit, it's only 7 games. Nobody gave them the credit to say that they could. Look at them now. They 12-2. And that whole culture has completely changed, win, lose, or draw. With us, it's like guys almost walk in like, it's almost like Steve would think, if you could think about the way that they play, they on their cell phones, they texting their girl, they out here trying to make dinner arrangements and all that stuff. But these great teams, you ain't got to tell no dude, hey, get off your phone. Hey, you ain't got to do that. Every one of them, when they believe, they coming up there, all they thinking about, you know what, whatever else I got to do, my phone is shut off. What I'm about to do, we about to get this dub. We don't have it, man.
Yeah, that's why, like, looking at this game, when you say you don't have nothing to lose by going for it, and that's what you do. You got to, because at Detroit, what they did was win down a stretch. right? And they won some games, and it's going to be. I don't think the Bears are going to win a game before the season out. Maybe they get lucked up. I don't know, but right now I'm gonna say they're not. But they have to be doing everything they can. Watching that game, this is one of the things that was alarming as to some other stuff we mentioned earlier. One is the Bears started establishing the run a little bit early, which was a little different. No, absolutely zero play action off that running. They just ran. Then when they decided to throw, they just threw. They're not setting up anything. There's no chemistry. They kind of back to now where the receivers are crowded.
They trips right on the line again instead of stretching them out there.
Yeah, they back to the same thing they was doing early in the season. They're not being creative and on ways to get the ball in the end zone. So offensively last night with the Bears, they really didn't get much accomplished. And what the Bears going to have to accomplish these last 3 games is one. I'm going to say one thing for sure. If Caleb could get a game off between here in the last 3 games, get him a game off. That was some brutal hits, and to give him time to think and calm down and be able to process what's going on. Okay, if you can't do it, you can't do it. When the game is out of reach, there's no reason to keep having Caleb in the game.
That fourth quarter, I didn't like that look, man. He's sitting out there. You knew y'all were going to win the game. You got the kid out there. All they need, you know what? I can tell you, and God forbid if something happened to Caleb last night, you could have fired every doggone coach that was out there and all the general managers. Warren probably would have walked on the field while they were going out. It's like, you know what? Don't even go through this tunnel. Go right out to your car. We're going to ship your stuff to you.
Right. And when you so they got to be. So as the Bears move on, when you look at it, 12 points and 13 points is not enough to win an NFL game. It's just not going to happen. You got to be able to stay competitive the whole game. And until the Bears figure out how to start a lot faster than what they're doing, it's going to be hard to always go into the second half and thinking you're going to be able to rally. This a comment I wanted to make when it was saying you had nothing to lose. I'm going to take a comment that Herm Edwards was famously known for, even though he wasn't really a good coach, head coach. You play to win the game. That's what you play for. You don't play for stats. The stats may come. You play to win the game. Okay? If you don't want to win the game, then ask the coach to start somebody else. You should be out there wanting to win that game. I don't care what it takes. If you're giving up every time something goes wrong, it's something wrong with your mentality. You're going to have to toughen it up. You're going to have to be able to put on your big boy pants. And nobody feels sorry for you. Y'all making millions of dollars. And, most of us would not even make that our whole life, what you guys making. So, hey, they just got to toughen it up, play better. They got to play through their mistakes. They got to concentrate, start making the same mistakes. You can't shoot yourself in the foot. You have to believe you're going to win a game. If you don't believe, you're not going to win no game. Us as fans, we don't think you're going to win no games. I mean, that's just true.
Right. That's so true, man. I mean, but I think just teams, like you can just look at it. People look at the X's and O's, they look at stats, but different teams that win. First of all, like with Kansas City, what was the one thing that they did for Mahomes? When he came in, they cut the field in half for him. You ever notice the one thing that was their strength ended up being a kryptonite in the Super Bowl? Remember when they did that cover, man, Tampa Bay did that cover 2 soft cover shell? And they start compressing the outside, changed everything, but they just like, okay, he was a great guy. He's got this talent. This is what we're going to do. We're going to give this play. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to do this. And on top of that, he has to adjust to being a rookie trying to navigate through an NFL season, number one. Number two, the best guy, one of the worst guys on the opposing football team was probably a starter or All-American. 3, you got these great receivers and you thinking, oh, I got this speed, I can do that. And now you rolling out running, now a D lineman tripping you up. psychologically, it's got to be damaging. And like I said, this dude got 58 sacks this year, man. He's been sacked 58 times. I don't care who you are, but you've been put on your behind 58 times in 14 games. It's got to mess with you, man. So,
yeah. You know, this is funny how perception is perception is people's truth.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I'm going to say this, and I don't really have nothing to calculate it and prove it. I would say early this year, about 70% of Caleb's sacks was poor protection. I would say in the latter 4 or 5 games, I would say 45% of his sacks is Caleb's fault. Okay, so he's moving more to half and half. Half is protection, almost half of it is his fault. Last year, when I would say some of those sacks was on Justin Fields, people would go crazy. No, because Troy Aikman made a good point of a lot of sacks are on the quarterback. Guess what? Now, with a rookie quarterback, you give them leeway because why? Sometimes they're not able to, because they're still learning the game, to get the ball out their hand faster.
They can't get exactly.
Yeah, look, the truth is your line could suck like dogs. Guess what? A veteran quarterback realized, guess what? I just got to get it out of my hands much faster. A rookie not able to do that right away, right? Because they're still processing the information. They're trying to do this and that. They're trying to understand coverages and this and that. So a lot of times they're going to take sacks. But he has to learn how to get the ball out of his hands. And Caleb is battling an uphill battle. I mean, let's be honest about it. He's battling an uphill battle. One is he has the anger of Justin Fields being traded. He has the anger of them using the word generational talent. I don't care if he was supposed to be generational. I don't even know what that means. I never called him a generational talent because I don't even know what that means.
I do. Generational talent would be somebody, but see, it's a great term, but it's used wrong. Generational talent is like Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah, something like that. So some people are mad because they don't think he's going to live up to the general. That's irrelevant. What you want is a quarterback that can actually lead your team. They don't have to be generational. And guess what? If we listen to fans, Josh Allen would not be with Buffalo. Matter of fact, there's people right now in this watching NFL that swear Josh Allen is not a good quarterback. I'm telling you, it's people that swear up and down. There's people right now watching the NFL that swear Lamar Jackson is horrible, right? It's what you like. So he's in a situation where he had things work that's going to work. People just naturally going to dislike him. Some people just dislike him because he paint his nails. It's some people around the NFL that wants the Bears quarterback to fail all the time. They invested in that. So I can understand why he takes some of these sacks, which he just got to live with this. I think he doesn't want to turn it over. And he knows with the throwaways and the turnovers, he may be completing the ball 62 to 70, 68% on the average game. If he starts throwing the ball away more and not taking those sacks, he know what's going to happen. He's going to have 55% completion, and people will be like, man, he total trash.
He's trash. He's garbage. He can't even throw. He can't even make a completion. But
he can't even make a completion. So you fighting all that stuff. But you know what? I still say the Bears offensive coordinator and the head coach right now got to throw caution to the wind in some of these games and let him take more riskier throws. Now, I mean, just turn it over, but just go and let him play his game, roll him out more, get him easier throws, target Cole Kmet on some of those rollouts, but something he could roll out, he could see it, he could throw it. It's in his line of vision. He throw it. Both guys are happy. You moving the sticks. Caleb is an excellent thrower on a run. He actually throws better moving than he does actually standing in one spot. So play to his strength and try to get the best out of that and get him out of the season healthy and try to get most of your players out healthy. And by the next to the last game, I think it's against Seattle, you should be rotating guys in that you want to get some development from.
So you should be rotating guys in all three of them games because right now Caleb's not your quarterback. He's your franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
One injury away from being in some bad shape. Because don't get me wrong, Tyson Bagent is a serviceable quarterback, but when I think about quarterbacks that are running offenses to a team that could actually eventually do a playoff, I don't see it yet. And maybe he is. You never know. But by the same token, you got to look at the investment that you have in Caleb Williams. I mean, you said this a long time ago, and I don't understand why. Let him do him. Let Caleb be himself, and if he want to come out there and start showing off his fingernails, painting all that stuff. But all I care about is if he putting seats in there, he's putting points on the board, and we getting some progress is fine. But right now, at this particular point, he's still in the learning process. Why don't y'all just run some offense to get him used to, like you run a particular set of plays, like you may have scripted plays, but just like even what Jay said, you got your 12 to 15 scripted plays, but a lot of that is contingent upon what's in front of you. You might go to play 3, and then that next play 4 is not conducive to what you got right now. You adjust to what you see. They start just doing that now. Now they got some of the off season to kind of carry over to whereas when they come back the next season, it won't be no confusion on a lot of plays. There'll be certain plays that they're going to be running, and they should be able to run. I would have them run one particular play 9,000 times so they can do it with their eyes closed.
Yeah, Guy, I agree, because even when they get into short yardage situations, there is no play that you could say the Bears have that that they even know going to work. Now, I could say for a minute, bringing in Roschon Johnson and Doug Kramer was kind of working a little bit in short yardage. But I said this before recently, you can't count on Roschon Johnson. You're going to have to get another back next year. Roschon Johnson has missed games for concussion last year. Mm-hmm. He missed a few games, maybe 2 games starting the season from a concussion. Yep. Now he's been out 2 games this year. I mean, just recently, the last 2 games for a concussion. Mm-hmm. It doesn't look good for Roschon Johnson. I hate to say it. Concussions are serious. Take like Brisker. Brisker mm-hmm. hasn't played since what was it? It was the
game, something like that.
Yeah, it was a game before they played Washington, because he didn't play in the Washington game. He went in. I think it was the Tennessee game.
Say which game it was too.
Yeah, because he hit a guy and he fumbled the ball, and he played the rest of that game. I'm thinking it was the Tennessee Titans game.
I could tell, yeah, because I mean, and it's funny because like when we talk about like great players, we talk about how great their stats and things are, but we also look at stuff. You said, well, what game was it? Was it Jacksonville? It was right before Washington. He played like the first 6 games, I think. Then Washington.
It was the Jacksonville game.
Yeah, it was a Jacksonville game.
Yeah,
We talk about great players and and I know it's a whole nother thing somewhere down the line in the future. When I was talking about like my top 5 running backs per se, people will look at it and look at me like I'm crazy. Like I say, I'll just give one. That's like LaDainian Tomlinson. They're like, he ain't no top 5 back. I said, okay, look at his stats and what he did. They're really good. But most importantly, look at his career and see how many games he missed. Mm-hmm. Not many. And people, of course, to have a palatable argument, oh, well, so what? That don't mean nothing. Look around your league right now. Look at guys who ain't even playing nearly as much as him that's out with concussions, that's been out with injuries. The one thing about him, the Chargers couldn't go to the big game and they couldn't win it all. But one thing that you can say when you look at some of the most pivotal moments in their history, as long as he was there, he was on the field for it. And that says everything, not just for a player, but for a marquee running back to average like maybe 14. We're doing a 16-game season, average like 14 and a half, almost 15 games a season. That's unheard of,
Yeah, hey, that's a good point, guy. Hold on, let me put myself back on the screen. I actually was looking for your video since you brought it up. Let me put myself back on the screen. I was on show maybe. Oh, let me. I'm not gonna show the whole thing because I don't want to spoil it, but maybe I'll just show two of the people you got on your list.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. What we got right here? Let me hit pause. There we go, guy. Let me bring that on the screen. And I know we're gonna wrap up, man. I know we was kind of more so talking about the Bears in general and not a lot about the game, but it wasn't that much to say about this game. But man, okay, let's go here. Let's look at guy got a couple of what we got right here. Guy top 5 running backs of all time.
You gotta take the mute off.
Oh, yep, there you go.
All time. Guy's top 5 running backs of all time. Shout out to Eric Dickerson and Bo Jackson. 5 LaDainian Tomlinson.
And here's some daylight. 25-30 in the clear at the 35. 2 men chase at the 50. Tomlinson running up.
Okay, let me take look. If you want to finish seeing who guys top 5 running backs of all time, go to YouTube, look it up. It's guys top 5 running backs of all time. So you can see he had 2 honorable mentions. He had Bo Jackson, and who was the other person he had?
Eric Dickerson.
And Eric Dickerson. And number 5, he had LaDainian Tomlinson. So
LaDainian wasn't better than Eric Dickerson.
Hey, so anyway, I know we're gonna do a whole show on that where we could talk about it in depth. But like I said, hey, Google guys top 5 running backs of all time, and see who his next 4 running backs is. He got a nice little selection there.
I'm gonna put it in our group page, and and as soon as I do that, they're gonna roast me for, but that's fine. But my factors are not just the stats. I think people look, because if we would look at like from what and I will tell you this, certain guys, but I will just say it's one particular player that I got a little bit lower. It's not because he wasn't great, it's because he didn't last that long. He was injured. But had he went through his career and not been injured, we'd have a whole different landscape of great running backs.
Yeah, guy, because even with your honorable mention, if you think about it with Bo Jackson, in reality, as good as Bo Jackson was, right, other than him playing 2 sports and stuff like that in a short career, I don't believe Bo Jackson never had 1,000 yards rushing in the season he played. But that's because he came to, if I remember correctly, he started the season late because he was playing baseball. So he had missed a few games every season, and it was much tougher to get 1,000 yards then. But I was wanting to put a sneak preview on my list of a guy that he's an honorable mention, right? Be outside the number. Marcus Allen is one of the guys that get mentioned on not my top 5, but he's in that next group of guys. That wise, he's probably around 13, 14, something like that. But for me, even when you look at that, that's after not playing for like 2 to 3 years, sitting behind Bo Jackson. He still ended up like right outside of the top 10. He only got knocked out in recent years because of people like Frank Gore and Curtis Martin, who kind of eased him out in recent years.
Yeah. You got to put some respect on Frank Gore's name.
Yep.
But I would say this, we can talk about all we want to, running backs and all that stuff. Anybody can challenge me on this, but I'm going to stick to this until my dying day. The greatest college football team I ever saw was the 2001 Miami Hurricanes. Look it up. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. Hey, so anyway, the Bears fall 30-12 to the Vikings on Monday Night Football. There was not a whole lot to talk about in that game, but we just wanted to come and, kind of talk about some of the things we did see wrong. And then I think this Thursday, Christian Jones is going to be back with the 2-minute drill. Hopefully we'll be able to get D Hamp to come in with him. We'll break down Caleb Williams' performance Sunday, and we didn't do one last week, so for the last 2 games. Hey, God, you got anything else before we close out for the evening?
No, all you do is just let's stay steadfast. Let's just run the course. A lot of times y'all haven't seen me on here. I've been missing some time, so I've been putting in some work. I picked up some hardware this year.
Yeah, congratulations.
With my lodge. So just been putting all that work in. Me and my brother Eric Ford, we were like co-winners. We were like connected at the hip, and we tried to do a lot of great things for our lodge. So a lot of times when you don't see me, it's either lodge and they got me working like what. So
okay. Hey,
that's
man.
That's all I got.
Hey, keep doing your thing, brother, man.
Appreciate you, man.
Yep. Hey, so until next time, peace. Oh, forgot to hit the X.